Welcome to Whispering Loudly, the award-winning Workshop Whisperer podcast, as featured by Apple, with Rachael Evans, the #1 automotive business coach in the aftermarket. Thanks to Platinum sponsor Podium and Titanium sponsor Mechanic Desk.
Whispering Loudly is the Workshop Whisperer podcast. Hello, I'm producer Mel with Rachael Evans today. We'd really love you guys to go to your Apple Podcast app while you're here. You can even pause the podcast now and rate and review us. We're going to read out one of your reviews. This one's from Evan, and he says, the podcast is so informative. 5 stars, which we always love. Please give us 5 stars. I'm on my 4th podcast and I'm hooked. Loving all the information you provide and finding it easy to understand. Thank you so much for your review. Coming up next, Michael Caruso. He's a professional racing car driver in the Supercars and TCR Australia Championship, and you'll hear from him next.
Join our free Facebook group, Your Profitable Auto Repair Shop, and join in on the conversation with auto repair shop owners just like you globally.
Michael Caruso is co-founder and host of Below the Bonnet podcast on KAYO Sports, husband and father to 3 beautiful children. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
So, Michael, please introduce yourself to our Whispering Loudly fans who, as you know, are all auto repair shop owners. So tell us a bit about yourself.
I'm not really good at talking myself up, but look, I was very fortunate as a child to have a father that loved motor racing, and growing up watching him at the racetrack, I got a go-kart for my 12th birthday because I pestered him so much. Did karting up until I was about 18 years old and make the step up into racing on the road in race cars. Went through the various categories and won some championships and things and made it to Supercars, which I did for 10 years, which was a really good experience. And now I'm currently driving in TCR and I still do co-driving with the Supercars Championship. Decided to get into podcasting and come up with a show with my good friend David Reynolds, which has been good because I've always enjoyed doing media. So plenty of stuff happening and stuff that I really enjoy talking about, obviously motoring. And yeah, so here I am now at 37 years old and chatting away with you.
And we very much appreciate it. You mentioned your history starting out in the go-karts, and I've been binge watching the F1 series on Netflix. And you see, you know, when they look back at the drivers and everyone starts in go-karts and, you know, works their way up. Did you ever, you know, think about making the step out of Australia and overseas?
I actually tried, probably like many Aussies. I mean, we're very fortunate in Australia to have so many talented, not just drivers, but engineers, mechanics, and we've had a lot of people go overseas and actually be in Formula One. But yeah, I tried to go overseas, but it's extremely expensive to make it to Formula One. And people probably think, how does that all work? But effectively, as a race car driver, you either have sponsors that come with you, or you can pay for it yourself.
Yes.
And large sums of money to go motor racing. So I tried that when I was a little bit younger and then came back and did Supercars, which is, obviously a world-renowned category. And
a fantastic achievement. Wonderful. You did start at a young age. You mentioned that your dad obviously had a big interest. Did that mostly fuel your passion for the sport, or does that come from somewhere else?
Before I touch on that, I thought this would probably resonate with the listeners. My dad actually was he owned a mechanical repair shop. So
Yes.
We're in Sydney and he was in Brookvale. He had a shop for some 30 or 40 odd years. I can't even remember exactly, but very familiar. I actually, funny story, I don't know if it's a good story, but funny story, I actually, when I left school, went and worked for him for a couple of years, but we were spending way too much time together because we were going away motor racing. And I was working for him as an apprentice,
Right?
which didn't work too good because we're working together, living together, and all that sort of going on. But I'm very fortunate about, you know, my dad loves racing, I loves cars, and without a supportive family to give you the opportunity to go motor racing, you know, it's just not possible.
Take a smoko and review us on your Apple Podcast app or wherever you listen.
So you've just signed a deal with Team 18. So congratulations. What are you most excited for? What's your favourite part of this?
Look, obviously the opportunity to race at Bathurst 1000 is the pinnacle in Australia. You know, that is the one race that, even if you're racing in the championship, the one race that everybody wants to win all year if they could do nothing and just win that
Yes.
is the one. So teaming up with Mark Winterbottom is obviously really exciting. We actually have grown up together racing each other from karting, so we know each other quite well. and he's obviously a very accomplished driver. He's won the Bathurst, so all the ingredients are there to achieve a special result.
Aside from experiencing success as a race car driver, and hopefully you will continue to do so, you've also worked in the media as an expert panellist on Network 10's Motorsport magazine show. I guess I'm curious, what led you from the track into the media space? How did you make that jump?
It sort of started with Channel 7 about 2012, I think, off the top of my head. And I mean, I like to have a fair bit of fun and play pranks and jokes and stuff, particularly on my peers in the category and people up and down pit lane. So I was doing some colour reporting with them. Once I got, I guess, towards the end of my supercar career, thinking of, stuff that I love doing and what have you, and the opportunity arose to join the Network 10 team and Matty White, because he was actually the guy when he was at Channel 7 that gave me a chance to do some work on TV. So it was a good opportunity, and now expanding, working with KAYO is really good because I'm in that part of my career where I'm still racing, but transitioning into something else as well. And I enjoy media because, as I said a bit earlier, I love talking about motorsport. Yeah, and I enjoy sort of telling the story that I guess is behind the scenes a little bit more, and something that we probably don't get to appreciate, or people that watch don't get to hear about most of the time.
I think that's why I'm so hooked on the Netflix show at the moment, because it really is that behind the scenes stuff that you just don't even consider. And the whole business behind motorsports as well. I mean, there's some really serious coin that goes into this.
And I think that, we get caught up with watching the racing and it all looks in the glitz and glam, but yeah, no different to any business. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes to create a successful business, whether you're in motorsport or I'm sure in your day-to-day, whether it be working in the mechanical repair shop. So to have that, and I guess to get everybody on the same page, because it's never just one single person that does it. And there's always a group of people surrounding them that are just as good as their roles. And I think we're seeing a lot more of that now with that, particularly in that Netflix show.
Join our free Facebook group, Your Profitable Auto Repair Shop, and join in on the conversation with auto repair shop owners just like you globally.
So tell us a bit more about Below the Bonnet with you and David Reynolds. How did that come together?
So Dave and I have been good mates for many, many years, and he came to me probably 5 years ago with an idea to do a podcast, but we were both so busy racing, it sort of just didn't allow the opportunity or the time to do it. So once I stopped Supercars, I had a little bit of time. So yeah, effectively we kicked that off, and podcasting is such a fantastic form. You can have a story, whether it's short, long or medium, it's free to do whatever you'd like. And it's growing, rapidly at the moment. And yeah, we love having fun and telling, like, as I said before, the behind the scenes that you probably wouldn't hear about, because I think nowadays people can see through, I guess, what we see on TV, and that there's more to tell and the real side of what's going on. So yeah, we like to be, I guess, the realist of the category and have a bit of fun doing it as well.
And you're a husband and a dad. You posted lots of gorgeous photos of your family. And like our auto repair shop owners, who also have families, I imagine that you've got to work at having this harmony between work and life. Do you have any tips for our listeners in that regard?
I don't know if I'm an expert, but I've got 3 beautiful kids and a loving wife. Love them to death. And you're right, the mixture of obviously focusing on your work and obviously spending enough time with your family, you feel like you're always, I never feel like I'm doing one good enough, but I think if you're constantly testing yourself and, questioning, am I, doing enough at work? Am I doing enough at home? That you're actually, it's in your form, it's in your head, and it's right where it needs to be, because it's easily sometimes to drift off, and whether you get busy with your work, and you need to, because that's obviously what supports the family as well. So, keeping grounded and appreciating the times that you do have, because you hear so many hard stories of people that aren't as fortunate through health and things going on. So just try to enjoy it, really, because it all happens so quick. Even though I feel like I'm not an old dad or don't have old kids, I just feel like the years just roll on so quickly that they're already at school and things are happening too fast.
Yeah, so really important to take a breath and be present.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, and one final question for our auto repair shop owner listeners. What would be the number one piece of advice you have when it comes to using your passion or your hobby to fuel your business success?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for myself, how I operate, I mean, you obviously have to have a lot of self-belief in what you do. And I think you need to evolve with that as well. You need to really see the progression, because it's easy to get stuck in the times or the things that you think but there's so much learning to be done out there. I mean, things that I know now that I could have done when I was 20, that experience is valuable. So that, just constantly evolving and learning and trying to push yourself to new limits, I think is really important, and something that I really try to do each day and learn new skills, because whether it be at work or at home, you find that you can really adapt those skills. If you've got as many as you can evolve to, got them to use in all your life.
Yeah, great piece of advice. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining us on Whispering Loudly today, the Workshop Whisperer podcast. Best of luck behind the wheel, on the TV screen, and behind the podcast mic. And for everyone listening out there, make sure you search up Below the Bonnet so that you can follow along with Michael and Dave Reynolds and get their behind the scenes look at what's going on in motorsport. And if you haven't joined us yet in our free Facebook group, Your Profitable Auto Repair Shop, make sure you jump onto Facebook and join us, where you'll get actionable tips and strategies to grow your auto repair shop every day. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to Whispering Loudly, the award-winning Workshop Whisperer podcast, as featured by Apple, with Rachael Evans, the #1 automotive business coach in the aftermarket. Thanks to Platinum sponsor Podium and Titanium sponsor Mechanic Desk.